What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. If you have not heard yet, we are going to be live on this channel tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern time, to do our first off-season live stream of the 2023 off-season. We're talking about whatever you guys want, whether that's rumors, whether that's trades, free agents, front office, whatever you guys want to talk about, we can talk about. So if you have not been to a live stream yet, this could be the one to go to. Either way, it is going to be 7 p.m. again tonight, Wednesday, to talk about the Red Sox off season. Anyways, the Red Sox had some pretty important decisions to make yesterday. For those of you who do not know, anyone who the Red Sox wanted to protect from the Rule 5 draft needed to be on the 40-man roster by 4 p.m. Eastern time yesterday, and the Red Sox made some pretty interesting moves. Some of them were fairly obvious and guys who needed to be on the 40-man roster. Others were a bit of a surprise, and we're going to talk about all of them today in this video. We're going to go over why this decision was made, how it could impact this 2023 team, and how it could impact the Red Sox 2023 off season. But before we get into that, do me a favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. It helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. Before the deadline of 4 p.m. Eastern time yesterday, the Red Sox had 37 of 40 people on their 40-man roster, which means they had 3 open spots. Now, to fill those spots, the Red Sox picked players that were eligible for the Rule 5 draft, and the players that they selected started with Ceddanne Rafaela, who was the biggest obvious choice for this 40-man roster. In all honesty, he probably would have made the 40-man roster regardless of whether or not he was eligible for the Rule 5 draft. After a massive 2022 season, he's probably going to start the year in AAA, maybe even hop from AA straight to the majors. Either way, I do think we see Ceddanne Rafaela at some point in the 2023 season with the Boston Red Sox. The second guy they decided to put onto the 40-man roster is Brandon Walter, who again is a fairly obvious choice. He was injured in 2022, but he has started throwing again, and he has a lot of promise. He's a lefty. The Red Sox don't have a ton of lefties, so this move to me makes sense. Again, another guy that we could see on the Red Sox roster come 2023 and make an appearance sometime during the season, either as relief help or even starting rotation help, depending on injuries. One of the other interesting things about Brandon Walter is that he could also be a key trade piece this offseason, and that might have been some of the reasoning behind the Red Sox putting him onto the 40-man roster and ensuring that he's here later in the offseason to be able to make deals with. So that's something to keep your eye on as well. Either way, Brandon Walter, not entirely a surprise. The next guy they decided to add to the 40-man roster was Chris Murphy, who did have a little bit of a down year. He had an ERA north of 4, but he does remain one of the Red Sox top 15 prospects because that potential is there. That ceiling is fairly high, and it's essentially, in my opinion, the same reason they saved Walter, right? He's a lefty who could be eligible and ready to go for the 2023 season, either in the bullpen or as sort of a 7th, 8th man in the rotation, depending on injuries. He could also as well be another key trade piece as we move along here through the off season. I know the Red Sox are trying to cook up some interesting trades, and having these two guys on the 40-man to ensure that they will be here throughout the entirety and be able to be shopped around as they want is probably a pretty big deal. So in my opinion, Murphy and Walter were added not only because they could be beneficial to the 2023 Red Sox, but they could also be a key trade piece. Both of them being lefties as well is a huge deal because the Red Sox right now have a singular lefty in the bullpen, at least at the major league level, and that's Josh Taylor, who we have not seen anything from in a year. The biggest surprise on this list was David Hamilton, mostly because David Hamilton isn't exactly a super exciting prospect outside of one thing that we will get to in a second. He doesn't hit for a ton of average, hitting 251 last year. He doesn't hit for a ton of power, only 12 home runs in an entire Portland Sea Dogs season, and he's a pretty decent fielder, but it's nothing insane, right? He's not the platinum glove potential fielder like Ceddanne Rafaela is, but there is one thing that sticks out, and I think we all kind of know what that is, and that's the fact that in Portland this year, David Hamilton stole 70 bases. It tied Jacoby Ellsbury for the most stolen bases in the Red Sox minor league system, and that's a pretty big deal. One, because we don't have a ton of speed on the current Boston Red Sox, but two, because going into 2023 and beyond, stealing is going to become a little bit more relevant than it has been in the past. Bases are getting bigger, the shift is banned a little bit, so you're going to see more steals and it's going to become a bigger part of the game. And to me, that makes the most sense as to why the Red Sox decided to keep David Hamilton on this club. Obviously, you have to get on base to be able to steal bags, and we saw that firsthand with Jarren Duran, so that could be something to keep an eye on. But again, this could be another guy, mostly because he plays second base and shortstop, that could be shopped around as well. I know a lot of teams are looking for that middle infield depth going into 2023, so that could be something to keep your eye on as well. But I think the main reason he was added to the 40-man roster was because of the fact that he is lightning quick. He has the ability to steal bags almost with ease. And the last guy the Red Sox decided to add to their 40-man roster was Wilyer Abreu. Now, for those of you who don't remember, Abreu actually came over in the Christian Vasquez trade that happened this year. He's a pretty decent prospect. He's a fairly okay outfielder. He has a lot of raw power in his bat, but he does have a tendency to swing and miss a lot, and that is something to be extremely cautious about. In my opinion, the biggest reason Abreu was added to this 40-man roster to prevent him being drafted for Rule 5 is because of the fact the Red Sox really haven't had the time to fully assess his ability. Again, another guy who could end up on the trade block. Honestly, everyone but Ceddanne Rafaela, in my opinion, is going to be shopped around a little bit, and Abreu is no different. But Abreu does have a really high ceiling, and that could be something the Red Sox see a lot of value in. Now, there were a couple of snubs here that did not get added to the 40-man roster that I wouldn't be surprised at all get shipped out during the Rule 5 draft. The biggest one is Thaddeus Ward. In my opinion, this makes no sense why he was not added. He has been fantastic ever since he came back from Tommy John surgery. He's doing better than he was doing before, and I would not be shocked at all if a team picks him up in the Rule 5 draft. Not entirely sure what the reasoning was behind not putting Thaddeus Ward on the 40-man roster. I don't know if we'll ever get an answer to that, but that is definitely a guy that I could see leaving very quickly in the Rule 5 draft. The other guy that I did not see added was Ryan Fitzgerald. Now, Fitzy had a bit of a down year in AAA, but he's a great utility guy. He's a guy who does have the potential at the plate and is another guy I wouldn't be shocked if he left. But again, I don't know how big a team's going to take a chance on a guy who had a really poor second half. Either way, out of the two of those, I would be absolutely stunned if Thaddeus Ward is on the Red Sox to start 2023. In my opinion, he's going to be a very quick pickup by a team. Now, if you're doing your math right in your head, right, I said at the beginning that the Red Sox had 37 of 40 spots open, but they decided to add 5 players, which means they had to drop 2 players to make room on their 40-man roster. And the 2 players that the Red Sox decided to drop were Jake Reed and Caleb Hamilton. Now, if I'm going to be totally honest with you guys, I don't think this is going to have that big of an impact on the 2023 club dropping these 2 players. They were mostly organizational depth, right? At worst, or the worst case scenario type players. If we need them, Hamilton can play catcher. If we need an arm, Jake Reed can be in that position. They're not exactly going to be the difference between the World Series and 4th place, so I don't think this has a huge effect on the Red Sox roster. Honestly, I am shocked that Darwinzon Hernandez and Ryan Brazier remained on the 40-man roster through this. I thought for sure those guys were going to be let go to make room for some of these players, but they didn't. Somehow they're like cockroaches, they never go away. I don't know what's going on with that. Ryan Brazier and Darwinzon Hernandez remain on the roster, at least for now. I'm still hoping that the Red Sox make enough moves this offseason where they no longer need their services. Either way, and all in all, I think that at the end of the day, these moves made a lot of sense. The only one I would question is David Hamilton. Obviously, the other 4 are either key trade pieces or going to have legitimate impacts on this 2023 club in some capacity. I think Rafaela will be the one who has the most impact, but the other 3 could have some impact as well. Let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think of all this? What do you think of the Red Sox decisions here to put some of these minor leaguers on the 40-man roster? Who would you have put instead if you don't want some of these players? What do you guys think in general of what the Red Sox did to help prevent some of these guys being lost in the Rule 5 draft? Let me know all your thoughts down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor, favor, make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Like I said in the beginning, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Plus, you made it to the end here, you might as well hit that sub button. You also might as well hit that like button as well. It helps these videos out a ton and would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you at 7 p.m. tonight for our first off-season live stream and in the red seat.